Hey guys, this is Cam15 and I'm back at it with another video for you guys, and this is another My Hero Academia manga chapter review. Man, it's been a while since we got one, and whew, I can't wait for next one because this chapter was good. This chapter was good. The battle intensifies between Deku and Shigarashi, but we also get a nice little flashback scene and we get the true revealings of what Bakugo truly feels and how he feels about Deku and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get into this week's episode because man, this was really good. And also, we do get a point mentioned about one of the All for One, users, former users. You know, they might be All Might be hiding something. We'll just have to see. Anyways, we start off the chapter we started off last week where obviously Deku floated, which was probably one of the best moments in My Hero Academia, and he's about to take on Shigarashi. Now, Deku goes on to mention by saying, if Shigarashi touches the ground again, it will mean another wave of mass destruction. I gotta keep him up in the air. Now, this is manga chapter 284, and it's titled Deep Blue Battle. So, Deku sees that he's starting to lose control of his control of Black Whip is getting a little shaky. So he kind of just lets everybody down there and everything. Now, Endeavor tells Todoroki to go, to go get first aid to the people that need it, and stuff like that. And even Endeavor is like, this is pathetic how the number one hero is down on the ground while a kid up there is essentially fighting my battles and stuff like that. Now, I keep calling him Bakugo. Bakugo goes on to say, hang on, Deku, and stuff like that. He goes on to mention, he's like, you're the one guy who needs to keep his distance from the creep. He's no longer being held back by erasure. But who else can keep Shigarashi off the ground? Or, no. But then, no. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. Deku replies back by saying, but who else can keep Shigarashi off the ground? And stuff like that. That's what Deku says. And then that's when Shigarashi replies, he's like, oh, really? You like the sky so much? I'm good, because after I steal your one for all, I'll send you straight to heaven. Same goes for that old fool and the others down there. And Deku replies, like, yeah, that's not happening, not on my watch and stuff like that. So Deku charges in with his float ability, and he goes in for an attack on Shigarashi. Now, we cut actually to a flashback scene in this chapter. I know, most of this chapter was just a flashback. Some people might take it some way, like, why are we getting a flashback in the heat of battle? I typically don't like that stuff, but honestly here it was much needed. Because we get the feelings towards Deku and Bakugo, as well as we actually see that there are some members here like Ochako, Sero, and Sue. They're there to help Deku out with his training. And, hold on for a second, guys. Okay, sorry for that. But as I was saying, they're there to help him out with his training. Now, Sero obviously is there to help him out with Black Whip. I don't know why Sue's there. I'm guessing just for mobility purposes and stuff like that. But also as well as Ochako is there, obviously, because we knew this is before he achieved float. But this was actually really good, and I even, speculated and predicted, like, I think for float, I think for float, we have to, use Ochako because Ochako will be very freaking handy in this situation and stuff like that. So, anyways, you see that, Deku and Bakugo played a game where, Deku was trying to capture Bakugo with his Black Whip, but it wasn't working and stuff like that. And he asked Sero to help him, like, well, Sero, could you teach me how to deal with helping me use my Black Whip to deal with fast-moving opponents so I can get a more strangle of them and make sure I actually able to grab upon them and stuff like that. And things like that. Now, while Choco's there, and stuff like that. Hold on for a second. Sorry for that. Text some family members. Anyways, All Might, he goes on to say, Professor Uraraka, you're to teach him about body control while breaking in midair. But even Ochako mentions like, but isn't Deku already good with bouncing around and stuff like that? And they even ask like, why isn't Yazawa here to help him and stuff like that? And obviously we know because of the Shirakuma stuff and everything and stuff like that. So obviously you see Deku and Ochako training together, and stuff like that. And he's actually learning it really good on the fly and stuff like that. Also, can I also say, Deku's got a funny ass afro, man. He's got a funny afro and stuff like that. Also, you also see him, when he's using the Ochako's little float ability, her zero gravity, he's able to use, his Air Force gauntlets or his Air Force abilities to essentially propel himself through midair. Honestly, when I watch somebody else review, it's similar to how Bakugo does his explosion, which makes him fly, essentially. And it's something like that. Just, Deku using the Air Force gauntlets to essentially propel himself throughout the air and stuff like that. And yeah, so All Might goes and says, now stay up there in the air and get some coaching on Black Whip. Now this is when we get the interesting, nice little scene talking scene between All Might and Bakugo and stuff like that. And essentially, what happens in this conversation is we get the revelations of why Bakugo bullied Deku from the way back when they were just kids and stuff like that. And, it's nice. One of the mentions, Bakugo does mention, he's like, listen, dude, it's only going to be for so long, till there are more people and everybody finds out about Deku's true powers and stuff like that. They're going to see like, oh, he doesn't just have super strength abilities. He has a bunch of he has a bunch of other abilities that just magically came out of nowhere and stuff like that. All Might actually replies by saying, I'm not telling anyone about anything beyond Black Whip. And this training should prevent the next power from exploding out the way it did. So obviously, as you remember from the Class 1A versus Class 1B battle, Black Whip just came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere and just activated on its own. And what, All Might is doing is training Deku to make sure, Float doesn't just come out of nowhere and then he loses control and doesn't know what the hell he's doing and stuff like that. So obviously that's a great, master trait in All Might for doing what he's doing for Deku and stuff like that. So yeah, he goes on to mention saying that night, you seem to understand how someone who has great power bestowed on them needs to think very carefully about how it puts others at risk and stuff like that. He goes on to say, it's not only the wicked who seek power. Bakugo goes on to mention saying Deku trusts you with his life, but in the notebook about his successors, your summary of the fourth was kinda half finished. Only that one. Meanwhile, you wrote down detailed notes for the others, like the cause of death for the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Why is that? So, and before we get to the reason why, I read that and I was like, oh, is All Might trying to hide something? And I think All Might's hiding something because he looked more into the fourth view. He looked more into the fourth users right now. Okay, hopefully I don't have to stop no more. But as I was saying, it seems like All Might's hiding, the true stuff about, the fourth user. So that could be very interesting. The same YouTuber I listened to, he said maybe the fourth user might have a quirk that's very destructive or somewhat like a villain's quirk, which is pretty interesting. So, maybe that might have to be something where, All Might and Deku, they have to have a one-on-one talk together, be like, hey, listen, and stuff like that. But, yeah, it's going to be very freaking interesting to see where that goes and stuff like that. So, and plus, we still don't know who the, second and third users of One for All, even though, they look a lot like Kirishima and Bakugo, and there are people out there that are speculating, is that Kirishima and Bakugo from the future, which I don't think it is. It could be maybe like I think it could be like their great descendants. It would only make sense, but I don't see how that would work. And then it would just, anyways, so obviously, All Might's hiding something from Bakugo and Deku about the fourth user and stuff like that. And even Bakugo was like, well, what is it? Did you figure it out or something? And And All Might with like a stunned look, he's like, not yet. And he looks like there's some, in his eyes, it looks like fear almost and stuff like that, and shock. So, yeah. And, because of this, and now, All Might goes on to say, I don't want to speculate and talk about things I'm not sure of. So we don't know if he knows truly or, he knows or he has an idea about the fourth user. He just doesn't want to know if it's not true or, if it's true. He wants to make sure he gets a factual information. And All Might, he goes on to say, listen, I'm just doing this because I'm worried about him. And he even goes on to say, but you are as well, and stuff like that. And Bakugo goes on to mention, to say this. When we get the true feelings for Bakugo, about Deku, and stuff like that. He says, he just deep down, he doesn't take himself into account, He's always been like that. And now that he can do so much more, something doesn't feel right. It makes me want to keep him at arm's length. Back then, I ignored my own weaknesses, so I ended up bullying him. So we get the revelations of, why. Essentially, Bakugo ignored his own weaknesses and stuff like that. And because of it, it made him feel insecure and started bullying Deku for it and stuff like that. And, as, the progression goes on in this discussion, we see that Bakugo, this is probably one of the best character development moments for Bakugo. And it actually really shows, the humanity and the person in him that cares for his friend Deku. As much as he probably doesn't want to admit it, deep down, I think you can say Bakugo respects Deku as not only a rival, but even as a friend and stuff like that. And I just took away, I'm like, you know what? Bakugo, at first, when I first watched the series, I was like, I hated this guy. But now seeing this, man, we've seen the, character change throughout, the time from the start of My Hero Academia to where we're at now. And here it's like, damn, this dude really does care about Deku, and he really does, want to make sure he's good and he's progressing and stuff like that. And it really goes to show you, even though he's like that type of guy that's like doesn't show it, like I said, him and Deku to me have the Goku Vegeta relationship. Bakugo's like Vegeta. He doesn't like to show his true feelings out to the public because that's just his nature. But when he knows he needs to be deep down and knows he wants to be an unselfish person and the person that shows, compassion and care, he'll get to that length, which is still cool. And like I said, this is, if not the best character development moment we've gotten from Bakugo in, probably all the other moments, because it's like, this is why he's a fan favorite character. This is why he's a fan favorite character. This is why people like him, And honestly, after this, I gain a lot more respect for Bakugo. Like, Bakugo, he is one of my favorite characters of this show. I do like him. But I've gained even a greater respect for him for this. Now, Deku's still my favorite character of the show. Bakugo, he's up there, man. He's up there. And he's definitely a top 3 character. He definitely can be a top 3 character by, it's all said and done and stuff like that. And things like that. Now, Endeavor actually goes and say, like, when I said you and Endeavor are a lot alike, I was talking about that change, which obviously we know Endeavor changed his nature and stuff like that. And it's like I said, you can make the parallels. Deku is like All Might compared to Bakugo, who is like Endeavor and stuff like that. So, yeah. He goes on to say he couldn't take a good look at himself either up until I wound it up like this. And, you'll get the chance to talk eventually. Not that I'm in the position to say much. And essentially, All Might ends the conversation there in the flashback scene by saying, listen, Endeavor didn't really change and started talking to me how he truly felt, after, I retired and I ended up like how I am. And he tells, Bakugo, he's like, maybe one day you'll probably talk to Deku about this and, that will probably be the thing where you two will be eventually cool and stuff like that. And things like that. Now we cut back to the present, and Bakugo says, Endeavor, you gotta make this final one count. Now, I'm guessing Bakugo's telling Endeavor, listen, do one more final attack, and you gotta make sure this really hurts Shigarashi. Now, Deku, after, going through Shigarashi, he kicks him and stuff like that. Now, Deku goes on in his head to mention, looks like he's adapting to my 100% attacks, and he's taking hits. But his wounds are healing slower, and the damage is sticking. So Deku's realizing, okay, his healing ability, it's getting slower, even though he's able to take the brunt of my 100% attacks. So Deku here is using 100%. He's going all out here, and stuff like that. But he also goes on to mention, like, you know, my damage, it's still affecting him regardless. Now, he goes on to mention that the last two 100% attacks wrecked his left arm. So his left arm is like legit freaking injured. Like I said, he's got it in Black Whip. Right now, his arm wrapped in Black Whip like a cast, essentially. Or like I would probably say a buffer to maybe prevent any more damage, but still, you know, and stuff like that. He goes on to mention about the battle between All for One and One for All users and stuff like that. And things like this. He goes on to mention saying he has to go down. So he cocks, I believe, his right hand. Yeah, his right arm. And he goes on to mention now, you know, is the moment to let it out. Everything that One for All has to offer. And as the chapter ends off with no matter what happens to me. As Deku gives a punch. And I believe, you know, his other Air Force gauntlet breaks too, and that's when the chapter ends off with essentially a huge big page of Deku punching through Shigarashi and stuff like that. And the next chapter won't hit till September 27th, which I believe is technically another 2-week break, which sucks, but it goes back to being on Sundays. The manga chapters go back to being, you know, released back on Sundays. So regardless, it's going to be nice to see, you know, everything that's going on here and to see the continuation of this battle. Man, like I said, I don't know how this battle is going to end. Maybe Deku gets some damage on Shigarashi, which, you know, and maybe Endeavor might do one attack, which might knock Shigarashi out, but still, you have Gigantomachia coming to the battlefield, and I think by the time he gets there, that's when they're going to have to retreat and stuff like that. But yeah, this is really freaking heating up. Deku's going all out here, so it's come to the thing where how much is Deku's body gonna give? Because there's only so much Deku can do with 100%. But yeah, so it's nice. As well as the nice backstory, you know, with Bakugo and his development. I would say all in all, in these 17 pages, it was a great chapter. It was a great chapter. And, you know, My Hero Academia might be the chapter of the week. Well, if Dragon Ball Super is not chapter of the week, because some people might say Dragon Ball Super is chapter of the week, but I think My Hero Academia could be chapter of the week. So yeah, but other than that, it was a good chapter. So I'm gonna get out of here, and hopefully you guys are having a great rest of your day. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this chapter, your thoughts on the Bakugo moment and stuff like that, and your thoughts. How much will Deku's body hold up against Shigarashi? Same can be said for Shigarashi. How much will his body hold up? And also, do you think Gigantomachia will appear within the next couple of chapters too? So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here and stuff like that. Yeah. Also, hit the subscribe button to get more My Hero Academia manga chapter review content whenever they release. So yeah. So till then, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.